Who's that? Yeah, I got that.
Hello, everyone. Today's class is an open discussion, so feel free to ask any questions you may have in the chat.
There was somebody asked a question online. Yeah. Can you see if you can make heads and tails out of that? We have a question.
Okay. Let's see. Good afternoon. My first question is, and I ask this respectfully, why was I forced into a physical suffering body and a physical suffering world without my consent to the action? That's criminal. How come this omnipotent force couldn't give me the option of whether or not I wanted to be born?
Yeah, huh? Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, your memory is locked up, and everyone was given a choice. Uh, and you chose accordingly. And that's what started the wheels of karma for your individual life. So this is it's your memory just locked up. But according to all the true mystic teachings, we were given a choice in the beginning of I like the way Dr. George King puts it. We was given a choice of freedom or free will, and freedom would be to follow the laws of karma to on its highest level. Therefore, you wouldn't necessarily descend down to the lowest level. You would, as the Hindus say, you would stay a god, and you would be one of the lords of the lords of creation, or the galactic laws of creation, or mighty sun, or solar system, giving life to everyone, creating life, sustaining life. You will be a part of the whole, and you will be aware of being a part of the whole. But for some reason, a lot of us chose free will. Also, if you chose freedom, you could have been a part of the Devic kingdom, which are loyal servants of, which are loyal servants of the law. So you made a choice. You made a choice maybe many billions of years ago. And now you are making your way back to the Godhead. And that's according to the laws. Huh? Yeah, go ahead.
I think that question is a pretty valid question, simply because if you look at the question, it's what I call one of the great fault lines in all of your major belief systems. For mysticism versus religion, it's probably the biggest fault line or gap in terms of what people are willing to choose and accept. And that is whether or not we are responsible, whether or not we are part of the all, that when we think of the omnipresent, we should really be thinking about ourselves, or whether or not there are outside forces dictating to us circumstances beyond our control. If we take the first and the former, which is mysticism, then the body that you were forced to take is the body that you chose. The suffering that you're forced to live with is the suffering that we created, all of us together. If you take the latter, which is more of a religious perspective, where you are compelled into circumstances, then of course, only those who believe that can answer that question. But in mysticism, that is one of the foundation, the hallmark of mysticism is that ultimately we choose and we have chosen, and that the omnipresent is really, we are a part of it and it is a part of us. There is no separation between the two. And choices that are made, believe it or not, are ultimately made by your highest self or aspects of your highest self. And so all of life experiences in the body, no matter how pleasurable or painful, are choices that we make, and there are lessons to be learned. The only question is whether or not the life experiences that we're looking at now can be considered karmically as a deposit and or a withdrawal. But ultimately, you chose.
Any other question? And did that answer her question? It's a her or him?
Prima, did that answer your question? Or invoke additional questions? She says, she or he, thank you. It inspired thought, but I'm still concerned about my free will being controlled by something I can't directly communicate with.
Go ahead.
Again, a valid question, but we tend to disagree because we believe that you can directly communicate with it. You communicate with it every day. The question is, I guess you can say how clear the signal is between the reception. I believe the goal of metaphysics is to develop yourselves to a point where that communication is, I guess you can say, under your direct control. In much the same way we're able to turn on a TV, change a channel, same thing with the radio, and we're able to control and direct our thoughts along a particular channel. But if you were not able to communicate with the higher aspect of yourselves, you would simply not be in existence. Your communication with it is evidence of your existence, or I should say, your existence is evidence of that direct communication. That is, again, a deep subject, or I guess you can say it's a lesson unto it by itself.
Yeah, study. I think she needs to study the mystic constitution of man and realize that there's many facets to our existence, and that if you go into the silence and you practice yoga and deep breathing and or pranayama, you'll begin to take notice of the still voice within you. You'll realize that you have a mental existence, you have a astral existence, you have a physical existence, you have an etheric and an auric existence, and all these are different facets of your being. And even when you fall asleep, even when the physical body falls asleep, after a while, if you practice and gain control over your mental bodies, you will be aware of your other aspects, and you'll go on to experience life and through those other aspects while you sleep. And then life will become clear, and the mystery around you will disappear, and you wouldn't relate everything back to your physical body or your physical body's existence, because you'll realize that your physical body is only a piece of clothes that you wear for this classroom. And at one point you're going to take that off and you're going to put on something else and move on to a different experience. But you make that choice. Your higher self make that choice. No one else but you. God is not placing punishment on you, because you are God. You are an aspect of God, and that aspect have chosen to make this journey. But the higher aspect of you understand that. The lower aspect of you do not. Okay, I hope that answer will help you to understand that a little bit more. But there are several books on the mystic constitution of man. You can look at the 14 lessons. Also, by Yoga Ramacharaka, you can look at Annie Besant. She has a book on that. And I go into it a little bit in my book, The Ancient Language of the Soul. Next question.
Okay. Gopi Krishna's Ancient Secrets of Kundalini, Chapter 3, is devoted to Kundalini and the mind-body relationship. Do you agree with this assessment that Kundalini is mostly about conditioning the brain?
In the beginning, maybe, but Kundalini is the vehicle of consciousness. So Gopi Krishna, he experienced spontaneous Kundalini rise. Yeah. So what his thing was, and a lot of us experienced it. I experienced that at one time, and it's very dangerous. Fortunately, I had my father there with me when I experienced it, and he was able to help me and heal me. But it's a Kundalini is a vehicle of consciousness, and one of the great secrets of pranayama and mantra and visualization is to take the prana that you bring into the body off of the breath doing pranayama, and bring about a balance between the pranas of apana in the Muladhara chakra, the base root chakra, and the prana in the heart chakra. And one of the reasons why you take the prana down and bring the prana back up and bring it back 6 inches in front of the forehead is that eventually you bring about a balance, because those two pranas in the body, they never like to mix, and because of that, we stay in a basic state of consciousness, and because of that, the two hemispheres of the brain cannot balance itself, prana and apana, because apana is in the root chakra, the Muladhara chakra, and prana is in the heart chakra. Now, Vyana prana circulates throughout the whole body, so it mixes with all the other pranas. Udana prana at the throat center circulate in the head and the extremities, which is the legs, and the arms and the feet and the hand, and then Samana prana, it stays in the heart. I mean, in the solar plexus region, and it creates the conjunction point for all the other pranas. But apana springs up and then springs back down quick before it touches prana, which springs down, which actually springs up and then down, and they never seem to mix. The yogi job is to mix these two pranas and to bring about a balance. And when they do that, it has a cleansing effect of the nadis. And what happened, you could push the energy through the prana, through the nadis, and up into the brain, and then the physical brain and the astral brain. And what happens, the left and the right hemisphere of the brain begins to merge. You begin to have psychic abilities. You begin to be able to tap into the etheric body and the auric body at will, on the conscious will. So maybe that's what he's talking about, because that is like a physiological or functional thing that happens with those pranas and with Kundalini, when you bring it under control. Any other questions?
Okay, so just to recap,
Mm-hmm.
so the apana that resides in the base of the spine,
Mm-hmm.
and the prana that resides primarily in the heart,
Mm-hmm.
those two naturally do not mix.
They repel each other.
They repel each other. Okay, so they're opposites,
Yeah.
and those the repel, that force between the two actually is what creates the division, quote unquote, within the head or the head center. Correct?
Well, yeah, the head. You cannot perfectly uh, balance the left and right, but without all 5 pranas. Once you mix those two, then all 5 pranas can go to work and bring about a balance in the Nordic system.
Is it safe to say that the repelling force between those two is kind of there to create or to keep us at a base level until we are ready, or that's just
that is the samsara.
okay?
That's the thing that helped keep us in the wheel of rebirth, living in this basic state of mind, over and 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 over. So when the apana mix with the other pranas, you can begin to control that 1%, 2%, 3% energy that flows through the nadis. You can begin to control that.
Once the apana lives within the heart.
Once it mixes with the heart and the other, because it's already mixing with the other pranas, but it's the heart prana that is not really mixing with. See?
And is this part of, I don't want to get too deep, but in the 4 atoms, where eventually the last atom, or either the 3rd or the 4th atom, is that man where Kundalini was moved from the base of Kundalini was moved from the heart and evolved even more down to the base of the spine.
The heart chakra split, and it actually created
the 3 below it.
4. Really, it created 4. There's a chakra right behind, right below the heart chakra that's never talked about. It's like a secret chakra. And then there's a heart chakra, and then there's another aspect of the heart chakra, which is the solar plexus center. And then you have the sex center, and then you have the base of the spine. And that created the division of man. And that actually helped to solidify man. In other words, it moved man to the physical realms of existence and caused a metamorphosis across the planet. Even the trees and the animals, the insects began to change because of that. See, because why? Because we gave an ingredients to what? The green life with our carbon dioxide. Because why? We began to breathe and oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. So it changed the molecular structure of the physical plane, and it made things become more solid.
Would you say that was the last atom, the 4th atom?
Yeah.
That is the 4th atom.
Yeah. So that's now that's a secret. I don't even know if I should even say it all of that. Might have to classify this.
I knew the tripod broke for a reason.
Yeah, so I probably shouldn't even just go into all that. But you asked the questions, and I gave it to you. But that's one of the secrets of pranayama. Huh? I know, but I don't. Not over the YouTube.
So the prana and udana, they do not intrinsically repel each other. It's because of our work configuration where that
the prana and apana.
Prana, apana.
Yeah.
They don't naturally repel each other, but it's due to our.
No, that's the makeup of it because of the mind. Because
the mind that we operate in.
Yeah, the basic realm that apana. If apana moves up to the sex center, it'll operate different. Mm-hmm. But
that's the same for humanity too, right?
That's the same for humanity, yeah. So if a panel moves to the solar plexus center, it'll operate different because it's under different laws within that vortex center. Okay, within that vortex center, and the thing that drives it, like I said, is the extension of, well, I said in other classes, the extension of the command center, Ajna, the Christ Chakra, which operates through the auric body and the etheric bodies, right? And it extends itself and it controls everything. It makes everything, it governs everything to the law of karma, right? It enforces that those things must operate within the law of karma. And that's why when you study the chakras, only thing you see is they talking about one diva after another diva after another diva after another diva, or sound. A sound is a diva. A light is a diva. You know, but they operate in those bodies in order to govern a movement, all right? Because what the sound does, sound is a vibration that governs movement, okay? Anything that moves, you can see a sound to it. And because of that vibration, it hits the electronic magnetic spectrum a certain way and creates a color. See, and that's why you hear them talking about sound, color, and light, and then it also creates a number. That's why you see they describe things in numbers, because those numbers is that karmic configuration. You know, the karmic configuration is the number, the vibration, and which is the sound and the color and the light of the color. So but all of those are divas operating at different levels. And they will not go outside the law of karma, which the soul and the soul and the higher self uses the third eye, or what they call the Christ center or Ajna, to control all of that through the auric body, through the etheric bodies, and through those vehicles of consciousness. That's part of the aspects of Kundalini.
So, I forgot which prana it is that flows downward and promotes excretion.
Those are the negative pranas.
Negative prana.
See, once the consciousness locks itself into the body, it creates minor pranas, or you know, and those minor pranas are the things that has a negative. It's almost like a negative reaction to the soul being locked into the body, or the consciousness being locked in the body. That's why yarning, sleeping, all those are negative actions. Those are negative pranas expressing itself.
So that's why we have to reverse the flow of that prana.
Yeah.
In order to unlock that granting knot and move Kundalini, because that's what keeps us locked.
Eventually, once you control that prana and fuse not fuse, but bring about a balance within the head, then you can gain control over those negative pranas. See, but belching, sleeping, yarning, excretion, all of those are negative pranas. All those are negative pranas. Just like the positive pranas is sight, breath, taste, hearing. All those are part of positive pranas. But the reverse of that is negative pranas.
Yeah, the positive pranas, it seems to me like it creates part of the vehicle for consciousness.
For consciousness, yeah.
The negative pranas is almost like you said,
It's more fourth aspect related.
It's fourth aspect related. It's you locked into the body, and it's a negative resort of that. You know, so like you fall asleep. You know, because why? Because the consciousness is under some type of karmic timetable to allow you to express itself for so long before it's released before an aspect of it is released from the body and have some type of other mental experience.
that's what really belongs.
That's where it really belongs, yeah. And even even when you get into the higher principles of projection, like etheric projection, where you begin to project from the higher chakras, you're limited on how long you can stay out of the body even then. You're limited how long you can stay in that state because you're connected to this gross body and because of its negative effects, because you can hurt yourself, you know. And then also the information you bring back to this gross physical body can hurt you too. Yeah, the information, the knowledge, the awareness that you gain outside of the body. Even if it's positive knowledge, yeah. Yeah. Even if it's positive knowledge.
Could be too much for the physical brain to
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, it's too much.
Sorry about that, everybody. I'm getting back to your questions now. What happens to the soul that commits suicide? Suicide brings on extreme negative karma. Extreme negative karma. Now, understand that every action has a positive and a negative side to it. So, but when you use the word suicide, that's a negative. That's a negative action to that. I mean, that's a negative word for that action. For the action. So in most cases, that has 2 and 3 and 4, maybe 5 folds of karma when that happens. Negative karma that you place on yourself, probably for lifetimes, for the next several lifetimes. So it takes you several lifetimes to untwine that and get back on the right road. I hope that answers your question. It's a lot to that, you know. I've heard that there are a lot of forms of death that we don't consider suicide, but are actually considered suicide. Like, for example, someone who drinks heavily for many years degrades the body and dies from some alcohol-related illness, like, say, psoriasis of the liver, for example. Mm-hmm. That is considered a type of suicide, even though they didn't take their life all at one point, but they did it slowly over many years by this repeated negative behavior.
Yeah, I mean, all of us do that. The moment we start living is the moment we start dying. You know,
but we don't consider that suicide, but there are those that do consider it suicide because we.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. That it's the words you use. You know, we don't consider that suicide, but we consider that living a life and gaining experience. You know, but a lot of things we do tend to lessen our time here on Earth. Mm-hmm. You know, now if we tapped into the mind belt and understood the law of karma, and we followed the law of karma strictly, then maybe that wouldn't be the case with our lives. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll live to the highest level of our existence, karmically. In other words, if this body is designed to live 1,000 years, maybe we'll live right to that 1,000 years. You know, and then transition into another body. But because of our actions and our community actions, our group consciousness actions, we tend to limit our lifespan to a short span of time. You know, once we move beyond the state of mind that we're in and move to a higher level, then we can extend life across the world, you know. But right now, we limit ourselves.
When I bring the energy up, I feel pressure in my head. Is this normal or indicative of a blockage? Could you explain what practice you're doing when you're bringing energy up? Okay, this is a long question. This may be controversial, but hold on. Okay, well, back to the energy question. Because when I bring the energy up, I feel pressure in my head. Is this normally indicative of a blockage? Usually in meditation, I don't do any specific technique, just directing the energy upward.
Well, she needs to follow a technique, because you can get overload in certain areas. You can saturate a certain area with energy and just pass out. I mean, you need to follow a technique. You know, you need, this is very, very important. The yogi masters are prominent. That they actually approved who they were. Said that that's very, very important. That's why every meditation practice that someone gives you, you shouldn't take it. You should examine it under the right light and rules and regulations. And I know everybody just like to run out and do yoga and meditation now, but there's a method to it. So if the same way, if I take a bottle or a jar or cup and I just start pouring water in it, that cup has a limit, and in your body you have a limit too. So you need to regulate it properly so that you can bring about a definite result that you're looking for. So if you sit in meditation, you want to bring about a result. That's with anything. You predetermine your actions in order to predetermine the result that you want to bring about. So you could develop a pressure that brings about a negative result because you're not directing the energy. The energy just building up. So one of the things you do in pranayama is you breathe in the prana off the air, and you take this prana and you bring it down to the base of the spine, and then you bring it back up. And when you bring it back up, you allow it to exit the body through the Christ center, 6 inches in front of the forehead, without actually thinking about the Christ center. And what you want to do, you want to bring about a passageway so that you can begin to, in later time when you have total control over your mind, is to formulate thought and visualization and thought forms outside of the body, within the aura, and right outside the chakra itself, so that you can unlock the chakra at the given time. So that's what. Always have complete action. Always examine anything that's given to you as far as a practice. Just don't do it. Have a procedure. Next question.
Okay. it's a pretty long one, so I have to read it. This may be controversial, but I've heard from a YouTuber named Charian Last that the gods, or that force that is behind all existence, actually sustains itself from the heat energy that humans produce in their bodies through the basic dualities of life, i.e. working jobs, emotional attachment, suffering, etc. Do you honestly know anything about this harvesting of lush or mana? And if so, how can it be stopped to free humans from cosmic slavery?
Hmm. Yeah, that's to me that's foolishness. I don't believe that. That it has no logic to it. You can go ahead if you want to.
I don't think it's controversial. I think the question is more of a contradiction. To say that there are even entities who feed off of this type of energy is one thing. That's believable and most likely true. However, to say the force behind all existence, i.e., the creator, the absolute, is in need of anything, by definition, is a contradiction.
Right.
Because the creator and the force behind all is in need of none. If it was, it could not be the force behind all. It's the principle of the first cause. So the simple fact that they are attributing this to some force that's, from my definition, sounds like the absolute God creator, by definition, that's a contradiction. If you're in need of something, you are not the creator.
Yeah, and one of the first things the mystic come to understand that God is absolute. So being absolute, you need to pull on anything because you have everything, and everything comes from the absolute, and everything is the absolute. So we cannot look at God as individual, because God is all. It's the one life. God is neither female, male, and neither. So it is all. We have to look at God as above individuality. It is all. Other than that, it cannot be a God.
Okay. A follow-up to that. But then, why would it need to create life and humans in the first place if it's already absolute and in need of nothing?
It's not creating. It it only involves, it's a part of itself. In other words, the way we involve ourselves in certain thoughts, we have essentially created those thoughts. But how do we create those thoughts? We created those thoughts within us. It's only an extension of us. You have to look at it like that. Your thoughts is your thoughts, but yet your thoughts can go on and live through other books, through books, through music, through whatever, but it's still an extension of you. So, but it's, just like we are an extension of God. We wasn't made out of nothingness. We are a part of the whole. And a part of the whole decided to take a journey.
Let's see. Is becoming a breatharian or living only on prana a way to advance ourselves karmically?
Is what now?
Is becoming a breatharian or living only on prana a way to advance ourselves karmically?
That's up to the person. That's up to that person. Well, some people have claimed to do it in the last century and the century before, and some people claim it now. But you have to raise the vibrations of the body. You have to raise Kundalini to a certain extent to change the molecular structure of the body in order to do that. You know, so
Okay, so an advanced mystic with control, conscious control, could consciously change his physical state so that essentially they exist on the energy that's already
yeah.
within
If
themselves
you go, if you
without a
go,
risen body.
if you well, when you understand when you raise Kundalini, you put the body in a risen state. So in other words, you raise Kundalini. What you're doing, you moving the vehicle of consciousness from the body, but you leave just enough energy, subtle energy, and that's why scientists are actually studying subtle energy now, because they realize how potent subtle energy is. Look at the bear that hibernates, for long periods of time. Well, when you're able to raise the power of Kundalini consciously and put your body in this meditative hybridated, in a hybrid, in this state of consciousness. I don't want to compare it to a bear, but when you put it into this state of consciousness, you raise the vibrations of that body. At that point, in other words, the yogis say you go into a conscious state of death. So when you do that, your body is essentially have risen. You have risen your body because you take your consciousness to a higher state, and you open the psychic centers up or the chakras up to allow an exchange of energy that the physical body can sustain itself on. As long as you raise that Kundalini up and you shoot a beam of energy back down through the top of the head, down through Shushuna, that body would not it would not decay. So it's just like the soldiers in World War II when they went into parts of India. I think it was India, and they came across a group of monks that had been out in the forest in a meditative state. Some people say for 10 years or years, and all of a sudden they came through there, and the monks began to wake up, and they was able to wake up and walk away to find another area to go back and meditate in. They had not ate, and so they put their body in this risen state, and now the body is just exchanging energy, and it doesn't need water, because essentially water and food is energy. It's a form of energy, but they rise their body to a certain level where they can absorb that same type of energy from the cosmos instead of from hard substance. So that's why I say they changed the molecular structure of the body by raising the Kundalini to a certain level to allow the body to sustain itself. Now, walking around like that, they will have to change the body in some type of way to allow them to exchange that energy on a basic physical level, which is possible. It is possible, but how probable it is in this day and time, and having to go back and forth, that's questionable. But we know of 2 or 3 people in the past history that some yogis said that did achieve that level. Yeah.
That beam that shot back down, is that similar to the white light we call down, or?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, it's
or the golden sphere?
the golden spirit is the crown chakra. The golden spirit that we talk about, that's the crown chakra. So the light is coming from the crown chakra, yes. Remember, you have multiple. In fact, all the chakras in the body actually came.
Of the crown.
It came from the crown chakra. So the crown chakra, in your meditative state, when you bathe the soul in the light of the spirit, it sends karmically. It has to sustain the body so that the journey can be complete. So that's why the body has risen at that level.
So in pranayama, when we hold the breath outside of the body, we're making demands on the Kundalini or on the crown?
On the Kundalini. On the Kundalini, yeah. Yeah. Because you notice when you hold your breath long enough, your consciousness become heightened. Mm-hmm. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah, until you pass out. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you waking Kundalini up. You're making Kundalini work over time. So.
Is that the question you answered, Bernard? Yeah. Is my mic on? Are there any further questions?
What is it?
Why is pranayama really mantra? And can you answer it with the class if you have not already done so?
Yeah, I answered that several times.
On all levels, though?
I don't know. I mean, well, to answer the question, pranayama, mantra, or prana, or the breath itself, is a resort of the soul chanting a mantra within the auric body, which vibrates through the etheric, astral, and all the other bodies. And it forces when the consciousness is locked into the body, it forces the physical body to breathe. Correct. It forces the physical body to breathe, and the physical body takes a breath in and exhale a breath. And in Mantra Satra, it says that the body repeats the mantra of the soul through what they call hamsa, and now the mantra is reversed when you chant it physically, but that's so the breath in and the breath out is nothing but a mantra, and it creates a vibration throughout the chakras, and throughout the astral body, throughout the prana body, the mental body, and the etheric body, and that's what helps to lock the consciousness inside the body. So.
Okay, so Swami Vivekananda said that. I don't think he went into it in great detail, but he did say that when we breathe, we are not breathing to take in the prana to sustain our life. He said that prana flows in and out of the body, and in response to that flow, the body has a reaction, and that reaction is inhalation and exhalation.
Right, that's true.
But what he did not say, what you're saying, is that what is causing that flow is really the soul chanting a mantra.
Right. Swami Sivananda broke it down like just the way I just did. If you go back and read Swami Sivananda,
Raja Yoga, he did it.
I don't know if he said it in Raja Yoga. He either said it in Raja Yoga or Kundalini Yoga, but he said it several times in several books. And of course, the Vedas talks about it too. He talks about, if you go back to the original Vedas, it talks about it. And also Swami Patanjali in his sutras, the sutras of Patanjali, they go into it in the Upanishads of that. No. It's the Soham. It's the Soham, yeah. The Soham mantra. Ours is reverse, see, and that's how you get the Soham out of it. Any other questions?
Okay. What will a person who has lived a primarily conscious, enlightened life experience after death versus someone who lived a primarily spiritually ignorant and unhealthy life? Is there reincarnation for both, or does the conscious being live forever in the after-death state? And also, not to be argumentative, but is there any proof of this?
Proof is all around you. Everyone reincarnates until they level off to their best self, in the sense where they discard what the yogis and the Buddhists and a lot of different religions say, that they get off the wheel of rebirth, and that's through ascending. The way many masters in the past, and the stories of their ascension, have ascended to the point where they don't need to be reborn again, because now they work within the perfect laws of God, the perfect laws of karma. They don't go outside of those laws, so therefore, the rebirth is not necessary for them. The only rebirth the only reincarnation they experience at that point is conscious reincarnation, not unconscious reincarnation. So they position themselves within the solar system or galaxy only for the benefit of the galaxy or the solar system itself. So a person's, it's not a hard and fast answer for that, because someone can be ignorant of knowledge and still have a burning truth within them to do good and to be good all around them, even though they don't have the knowledge of what it takes to do good. You know, I have met some people that look like their auras are auras of masters, and yet they're just as ignorant as almost anybody around. But their faith and their conviction to do right is way up there. You know, so they live their best life where they are, and when they are reincarnated, they're going to be rewarded. When they die, they're going to be rewarded heavily. It's probably better than some of the best mystics walking around here. They have all the knowledge and understanding. So that's not a you can't just answer that just because you have knowledge. You're going to do good, and you're going to go to some higher plane or whatever. So no, it's the person's actions. It's the person's love for humanity. Is the thing that will determine where they go and how well they do in the next life. And everyone has to reincarnate until they get to that level. And as far as proof, the biggest proof you can make is practice. Doesn't take long. you know, don't take my word for anything. Go and do the practices and, and, and enlighten yourself to the point where you can see that this body is not you. And simple pranayama, conscious projection, what some people like call meditative exercises, where you can separate your consciousness from the body and you can turn around and look back at the body. There's a little book called Science of Breath by Yogi Rama Taraka. It's just a little, I don't know, maybe about 50 or 70 pages. But they give an exercise in there to allow you to leave your body, step outside of your body and look at your body. And then you would know that this physical world is not what it all set up to be. And then the more you do these yoga pranayama exercises and mantra and prayer, you would begin to experience or gain the memories from your past lives. And no one can tell your past lives, only you. And then you will be able and that will be your proof. I can't sit up here and convince you. You have to take the step to convince yourself.
Okay. Some questions that were emailed to us in regards to numerology. I have read books about numerology, and they mostly focus on your name or birth information, but do not seem to give me any real answers for this. I have started to see many number patterns years ago, like the classic 1111, 333, 222, 111, etc., and oftentimes random numbers that have guided me to things. Now my entire day is a number maze with minimal breaks. Most recently added is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, etc. A couple of family members see small amounts, like only 444, and others don't see any and will look at you like you are crazy. Why do you think some see them and some don't? Is it an initiation or karma thing? It seems some are even born with it and others weren't. Why would one get flooded with them all day and others only see it once a day?
That might be an individual thing. It might be the way that person was trained in their past lives to see things or to see psychically or whatever, and then it's resonating back to is resonating back in this life, and now you experience it. If you gain a particular skill in your last life, you at one stage in your life when you will gain those abilities back to you. You would something may trigger to allow you to tap into those skills. So a lot of times that's what people experience. In my life, I had a short period of my life where I seen numbers all around people, and that's what I summed it up to be. Those was training. It was training from other past lives that I picked up, and it might be the same with you. So you just have to study those things and try to relate it to your life. And those numbers can mean many, many things. It's not, in my experience, it didn't mean just one thing. It can mean many things. So you have to kind of analyze it for yourself.
Also, do the numbers correlate with the ones in the numerology book, or does it come down to learning how to personally interpret them in the moment? In the books I have read, it breaks down to the properties of each number. But when I get numbers like 1231, 1234, 616, 414, 818, I get thrown off because of combinations.
Like I said, he had to analyze that stuff for himself. And then one of the best books of numerology, if you relate that to numerology, because a lot of that, what you're seeing, is not necessarily numerology. Uh, One of the best books of numerology is Kevin Quinn Avery, and I forget what's Catherine Rockmore, and then David Goodwin. He has some good books too. Isn't it David? Is it David Goodwin or is it or John Goodwin? Kevin Quinn Avery is the yeah. But the Goodwin has I think we have Goodwin's numerology books online. But they're some of the best people. Oh, there was a lady who wrote a small book. It was pretty good too. Mary Anderson. She had a small, quick study on numerology.
I've noticed the IMKC doesn't cover Osho, OSHO. Was he a master?
I don't know if he was a master, but I did study his the teachings. The teachings have resurfaced again. They were very popular in the 40s. I think was it the 40s, 50s, and 60s. They had most mystics had the book in their house. It's like it's a big green encyclopedia book on the different masters and ancient knowledge. I think it's very similar to the theosophical teachings. One of the things they gave like pictures of the different yogi masters or masters around the world, and they gave they connected a lot of dots of history around the world too. Um, I believe he was a mystic. I don't know if he was a master. Um, I think I told you about him before. One of the classes I told you about.
Okay, are there any final questions? All right. If there are any more questions, we'll go ahead and close out with a word of prayer. You can always email your questions to us or hold them till our next open discussion. Yeah, I'll type the email address in the chat. If I remember how to spell it. Mystic knowledge. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to spell it. Mystic. Center. 'Cause I remember how to sp divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up, and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength, so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. O great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. Grant it energy to sing on forever and ever. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.